Hey guys, quick video, just getting the CF Moto 450 MT ready for an Italian trip I've got leaving this week. We've got 20 riders going down to the Italian Alps to ride some of the trails. Everyone's on smaller bikes, so we've got a lot of CRF 250s, 300s, Vogue 300 rallies, Himalayans. We've got a new Himalayan 450. And then a couple of 701 Husqvarnas, but mainly smaller bikes. It's a bit of a trek down to the Italian Alps. We're going to do rural back roads through France, or just A roads really, where the speed limit's 50, 55. So actually the CRFs, the Himalayans, are perfectly capable of doing those distances down there. And then obviously the benefit, once you're down there, is that you've got a light bike for the trails, like the Col de Sommelier, where there's been sort of landslips recently, so there might be a bit more tricky sections. And obviously a light bike is going to make that possible. So we're going to have 3 riding days down in the Italian Alps and then come back up a different way up through the Vercors. So it's a nice bit of riding. Obviously there's a lot of tarmac to get down there, and that's inevitable. Last year I took the Vogue 300 Rally, and I think that's what formed my strong opinion about that bike, because it did that trip easy. It did the Spanish trip really well, it did the Land's End John O'Groats trip really well, and you know, those 300cc trail bikes will do day in, day out road work, no problems at all. And with that Vogue, it handled the mountain roads really well as well. I like the gearing in the mountains, the handling in the mountains, and those tyres were good, the Timson tyres. So it was a good bike. This year, obviously got the CF Moto 450. It's a step up in terms of power and size and weight and mass, but as I said in previous videos, for me it hits such a sweet spot because I think it's going to give more refinement, comfort, and if you wanted to use a motorway capability to get down there, but then equally at the same time have that manageability on the trails, which is why I've called it a unicorn bike, because it can, on a trip like this, it can do the elements, the road and the trail, quite strongly. Obviously there's better bikes for the road and there's better bikes for the trail, but you're looking for that spot in the middle. And I think this is the bike that sort of suits me. Everyone's going to be different. So I'm just looking at the bike, going through it, doing some basic checks. The bike's only done 900 miles, so it's not like it's going to have worn anything out, but I'm just sticking with the stock tyres for the shale, gravelly type roads of the Alps. Same with Iceland or anywhere like that. These Pirelli STR copies, they are what I think CST tyres. They're perfectly good enough, and they also work on the road, so I'll leave those on. Tubeless, obviously, which I like. I think that's a good benefit if we do have any punctures on this bike on the way down there. I fitted in recent weeks crash protection, and I'm kind of in two minds with this kind of crash protection. It's bulky, it's heavy, it's made a difference to the way the bike feels off the stand. It feels like a bigger, heavier bike now. Even though it's added maybe 6-7 kilos all up, it is a noticeable 6-7 kilos. I've added it mainly for the fact that this bike is on a fleet for other people to ride, so it's more likely to get dropped. And so I thought, with the shortage of parts, I would suspect it's still difficult to get plastics and things. I thought protecting the plastics would be good. But if it was just my bike, well, it is my bike, but if it was just me riding it, I think I'd scrap this. So my advice possibly would be to avoid this if you trust yourself and trust your riding. And my experience really when you drop these kind of bikes is they always land on the end of the bar anyway, so better handguards, bike busters would be a good bet. It all came from Uncle Wang in China. Yeah, speedy-ish delivery, 3-4 weeks. Price was good. No instructions, fitting instructions, which I think is an oversight because you've got lots of spacers and washers, and you know you're not sure where it should go. And I've got slight misalignment, a bit close on this side, space on this side. So there's something not quite right, but I'm not quite sure where. And I've got spacers left over, so something's gone quite amiss. In terms of luggage, I've got a luggage rack, a soft luggage rack coming from Uncle Wang's, as well as a centre stand. Again, adding weight, and it is always that fine line when you're bolting stuff on. Are you benefiting it, the bike and the experience, or are you just adding on weight? And it's very easy to start tipping these 195 kilo bikes way into 210, 215, 220. I mean, I've got that Vogue 525 DSX on test, which comes with the hard panniers and the crash bars and stuff. That weighs 230 kilos. And probably a good 25 of that is bolt-on parts. So you do have to be careful about bolting stuff onto it. The fuel tank, I think it's 17.5 is going to be fine. Just in terms of wear and tear, I have noticed from customers riding it, that's wearing quite badly. There's some quite deep scuff marks there, obviously where people are going forwards with their knees. So if it's your bike and you are a bit of a tank hugger with your knees, you might want to put something on there. There might be some coverings available, or you might have to make up your own sort of laminate covering just to protect that paintwork. Equally, the headers, I'm noticing there's the mudguard is not overly effective, so there's quite a lot of spray up in that engine, and the exhaust starting to just pit and stuff and stain. Elbow grease is what I use, cheap and cheerful. Get 3 big bottles off Amazon, and it's a good way of preventing or keeping clean bikes that are continuously getting dirty and stuff like that. And it's not overly corrosive, so I tend to use elbow grease, which is a kitchen degreaser. Not overly strong though, so I don't worry about it too much. But yes, the bike as it is, I put a cool cover on for comfort. That's a British company that do the mesh coverings. Obviously there's other offerings, but I've always found cool covers to be a good product. It's off a V-Strom 1000, so it doesn't quite fit perfectly, but it should mould as the miles add up. A rig gear tank bag, and then if they arrive in time, I shall put on my Rhino Walk soft luggage, but I don't think they will arrive in time, so I'll just chuck on a 40-litre Lomo bag on the rear, and that'll carry my camping gear and some sort of provisions for if anything goes wrong on the mountain. We do have a van going down that is going to carry, anything. If anything goes wrong, we can put a bike or a body in it, and that's always good to have going so far away from base, Italy. And if we have any problems with any bikes, obviously we can offer some support. So all my luggage, or some of my luggage, will go in that van, in fairness. A little bit of cheating, but you can imagine it with some soft pannier racks and Rhino Walk panniers, you've got enough luggage there to take you wherever you want to go. I would say for anybody planning a trip, whether it's to the Alps or wherever, Scotland, try not to overpack. It is such a tendency for people to overpack, and I tend to find people, they arrive on the tours, if they've not done it before, even if they have done it before, they've always put stuff in that they think they might need and never do. And so they've got full metal panniers, a full top box, a full tank, a full dry bag even as well. And you've got to realise you're not going to use a fraction of that. And the more you bring, the more you're going to have to move around and manhandle. Backpacks are the biggest bugbear. A lot of people turn up with a backpack, they wear it for 2 hours, realise it's uncomfortable, and then it ends up in the back of the van. So yeah, be really like cutthroat with your packing, or else you're just going to overload your bike. And then the beauty of a small bike is then lost because you've overloaded the bike. So if you're going to go for a smaller, lighter bike, try and pack smaller and lighter. You know, it stands to reason, doesn't it? So yeah, CF Moto is about ready to go. I don't have to do anything to it, which again is why I like it so much. I don't have to do anything to it. It's ready to go. Suspension's good, brakes are good, tyres are fine, chain sprockets. Well, obviously that's all fresh, but you know what I mean, as a bike to buy and to ride down to the Alps, it needs nothing for it, needs nothing doing. Yeah, we'll see how she goes. Interestingly, there's no price rise for next year. Speaking to the dealer yesterday, I thought there would be a price rise given the popularity, but in the UK, there is going to be no price rise for 2025. I think they've got 100 bikes coming in next year, most of which are already allocated, and they're hoping to get some more, but it does show the popularity, but also the lack of supply of a bike like this. You know, I would think they could have sold 200 in the UK already if you could go into a dealership and test ride one. But the lack of supply means lack of sales ultimately, and what people are doing instead, whether they're buying a Himalayan 450 or waiting, I think there's a bit of both. From my experience of people coming down here to ride the bike, which I've had about 24 now, come down and ride it back to back with the other bikes, the Triumph, the 400, the Himalayan, etc., is that pretty much universally it's well liked. Not everyone favours it. There's some that have favoured the Triumph. The Triumph's an incredibly popular bike, in fairness, and there's some who gravitate towards the CRF for its lightness, and there's been one or two gravitate towards the Himalayan, as they find it's probably might be a better dirt track bike than this, less plastics and things like that. But I think universally people have been impressed with the CF Moto, so I kind of tend to say to people, if you're on the fence, if you're thinking about buying one, just put a deposit down, because if you don't put a deposit down, you're not going to get one next year either. So I think we're still looking for, is there a gremlin in the works that's waiting to jump out and prove this to be a smokescreen? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think everyone who rides it likes it. It's holding together well. It's easy. It's nice to work on. It feels a quality componented bike. It feels well put together. John at Rally Raid has had the forks look. He's looking at a rear shock for it, and I think he's working with a UK shock supplier, and they're finding it is quite a stiff spring, and there is benefits to an aftermarket one. So we'll see what happens there. What else? I think that's it really. 3,000 mile service intervals. I've self-serviced it, so probably there goes a warranty. But for me, £6,000 is a real benchmark or barrier. Over £6,000, I would agonise over a bike decision, and I would probably use the dealership to maintain warranty and other things like that. But sub 6,000, I kind of think, well, what's the worst that can happen? What's the most I can lose? What's the saving of self-servicing versus the hassle of taking it down to a dealer and things like that, which is not good for the dealership. I do appreciate that. You know, it'd be better to support the dealerships, but every 3,000 miles, it's a long day. It's a day lost to getting a bike serviced, and if it's only oil and filter, you know, if it was 6,000, I think that's where I'd say, yeah, let's crack on, let's get it down to the dealer. But 3,000, that means it needs servicing at the end of this trip, go again. You know, it adds up time and money. So, yeah, everyone's different. Everyone's got a different parameters of what they deem acceptable for servicing. But for me, I'll probably self-service this when it gets back, and then when the remap's ready for the throttle, which is going to be available at dealers, although some are saying that they can get it through the app in the UK. I'm not sure yet. Then when the remap for the throttle's in the dealerships, I'll get it serviced then. So that's it. A bit of a lowdown on the CF Moto 450. Yeah, it is doing the job, and I'm actually looking forward to riding it down to Italy. I love riding it, and the days out are quite frustrating because I see other people on my bike, and I want to ride that bike. It's my bike, and it's going to be nice to jump on it and spend 2,000, 2,500 miles on it, doing different types of riding and putting it in the context of adventure and in context of adventure against or alongside other bikes to see how they perform and the similarities, differences. Yeah, so that's it. Cheers.